So I remember Kabiring Lawyer Darboe Nada in 96. They had a meeting at our compound in Kafuta. And then from there, I boarded one of the vehicles and I followed them all the way to Someda. And I was very young then. I was only maybe about 14, 15, very young. But I followed them all the way to Someda. They had a night stop at Someda. Yeah, meeting OKJ. Then the next day, but then I was too young, so don't say that. That's how. That's where my political journey began.
Yeah, you mentioned that when the law situation came up, you thought about Usain Darboe in a way, Lawyer Darboe in a way. So what is it about Lawyer Darboe that you like as a kid to like growing up? What was it about him that impressed you so much?
So you have to remember from the rural Gambia at the time, Ila parents Solu had a difficulty where they were now competing with the minister at the time. And this was the Minister of Interior, Lamin Kitijaba. And then he was also the MP for Kombai. So that was a bit daunting. And then Lawyer Darboe was the hope of the family then for us to have justice. You know what I mean? Because Musolu Jurumo Bebe Mbamaleko. And then the other group, Manwara, but they had Lamin Kitijama behind them. So when the matter went to court, and Lawyer Darboe came to stand for them and then didn't charge them a butter, you know. This was the service he was rendering to the local people then.
I wanted to ask that if it was a free service, but I wasn't sure. I'm like, all right. But I'm glad you brought it up. Okay.
It was free. And then, you know, my parents really appreciated it because they lost the case. Abekela Malulti, you know what I mean? Abekela Malubal. But he stood for them and then he made so justice prevailed at the end of the day. And that is something which we really appreciate. My parents appreciate it. So, 96, Lawyer Darboe stood as again, you know, and then the political climate in 96 is very, very, and you know what was even funny? Because 96, my sister of the same mom was also married to a military guy who was the Minister of Interior at the time for the junta. You know, but even though the junta, Mbitan Namwila minister was part of the APRC or AFPRC that had changed itself to APRC, we still, you could see how much we were indebted to Lawyer Darboe. And that's why we said, you know what, we're going to support Lawyer Darboe and the UDP instead of APRC, where our Bitang was the minister at the time.
Okay. All right. I want to get back to when you were in college. So when you were studying law, how was that for you? The experience and what did you learn from it? Things like that.
So law, I really enjoyed law, but I was also enjoying IT at the time. So it was a bit competitive. But when I came to the university, so when they said, because they accepted my application on two, so I was going to do a combined degree of law and IT. Because that's what I was accepted or enrolled on. But in the end, Kabin did a career advice and they told us about if you studied law, you will become a lawyer. So I was thinking, you know what, that means I'm going to be Lawyer Darboe. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm definitely going to I want to do law. So I ended up doing law. So you see, the Lawyer Darboe inspired me in making that decision. You see what I mean? If there wasn't a Lawyer Darboe and there wasn't that lawyer that was representing the poor in the country, it would have been a bit difficult for me to make that choice, you see, but it made it easy for me. So I said, Yalo Mingera, batunga tunilafang ngalua karang isaje ninga obang nseke lawyer to come Lawyer Darboe. Wole natang inspired and nata dung lawyer karang in UK in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, lawyer come criminal law, or like you went into immigration law, or how did it work?
No, you know, Nibe, if you're doing LLB in UK, Nibe Akela, you do all the different areas of law. So, year one, you have to do English law. English legal systems. You have to do for taking rights seriously. That is legal philosophy. And then you do contract law, tort law. And then year 2, you start criminal law, public law. And then you will do, what's the other one? Land law. And then you will do trust, law of trust. And then in year 3, you go on to do many other areas. You will do legal philosophy, international law, and then immigration, welfare.
You guys unmute him. I don't know what happened. Iba mute Trinidad. Ela Michael unmute. Okay, you're back.
Okay, more of a call ke gambranada. So,
Okay.
it's a lot of legal and then you can do theories on punishment and sentencing and so many. So it's a lot. You do a lot of legal areas, but basic one or the core modules, criminality, public law, land law, and then trust, law of trust, torts, contract, and then philosophy, and then the other one, what's it called? Legal systems, English legal system, and the other one. So this immigration, and then employment, welfare, and then some other one, what you call optional courses, international law, and what are I cannot remember all of them, but some of them are just optional law. So ni ni LLB, that is the undergraduate one. That's when you go onto the practice side of things, because you have to now choose different modules or different subjects. So that's when you come to practice, that's when you do the specialization for criminal loyalty, whether you're going to do immigration, or you're going to do employment, or you're going to do commercial, or you're going to do some other areas of law.
That was gonna be my next question. Kabi graduated, how was the process? I mean, was it difficult for you to get a job? What field? It had a field Jumalakana.
I know it's very, very difficult. Yalo UK, it come in for a government, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So in the legal field, it is who you know, not what you know. So I remember it's a big challenge, because I know what time of time. I know Gambian, because now Uncle Bibi Dawa did law, but he couldn't practice. And I know at the time, Chongan did law there, but he couldn't practice. So it was a very tough arena Kadunje in UK. And then a lot of things goes against people because we have different names. You know, the other thing that helped me in UK, because you know, UK, if you put Yankuba on your CV and you apply for jobs, they just put it on the sign. But when you put Yanks, they are curious. They want to know, who is this guy? Is he a black guy, or is he a white guy, or is he something of that sort? Then,
yes, I think he's getting a call or the network. Let's keep tapping the live, please. Tap. Go ahead.
yes. So I was getting a call.
It's okay.
So UK, lawyer because you know why? They're getting over 30-something thousand students are graduating, or 200 and something thousand students are graduating. And then the field is economic allowed to practice is very small. So they would allow maybe about 80, 90,000 in a year, or 100,000 in a year, but you have about 200 and something thousand students graduating. So it's very competitive, you know, very, very competitive. So I remember covering a case Nyimbang to get enrolled onto a law firm was very challenging. So I started, I think the first thing I did is, because I crafted something very clever. I was writing to my local firms, and then nobody was responding. So what I did is, one time I just booked an appointment as if I am a client to go and see them. So they immediately gave me an appointment. And then I went to see the principal of the firm. And that principal was a Chinese lady. But the Chinese British who had been there for so long, Ivui they call it, and the firm was called Ivui Solicitors on Tundilafang Optim Park. So that jing application nga appointment of book kabindara federal. At I have a case. Guy ko no, you know what? Man case sort of the yalo mengera mbedo ku nyina membe experience you know la. Master no guy yalo guy sign loverman. Hanni benkel tea dalal. I'm happy to just do tea for you guys here. Just for me to get in, just for me to have that on my CV, you know. So you know what? It was so funny to her. That's a clever way. You know, other people have not done that. So I'm going to give you a chance for the initiative that you have taken, which is very crafty, you know. So in Adanta, I was there as a assistant receptionist. So and then I was dealing with their files. I was helping with the file records, keeping and a whole lot of things. So before I realized I started the paralegal side of it. So I would go to courts with barristers and I would go to court with them. And then I started learning about the court advocacy and court conferencing with clients and other things, you know. So from there, I learned that art, you know. And then before I realized, I started going to do advocacy in the courts for them. So Ni Montano, they will send me with the clients, and I have to stand on my feet and then address the judge. That is that's a challenging part of things, you know. So and then from then onward, after working there for 1 year, I started having that on my CV. So Ninga application now they respond because they know that I have got an experience in working in a law firm. So experience BJ because okay, loyal officer to sign in the UK. So then there was Musudole Fana advertisement okay Zimbabwe no like Elizabeth Nkube. So I tell she needed a paralegal in immigration. So I was like, you know what? Because my immigration financial Kabirin Tata to do my legal practice at London Metropolitan College, London Met. So that was a 2 years course. So during that course, you had to specialize in certain areas. And I remember one of my tutors was saying that you should definitely go for crime because you will be very good as a criminal lawyer. But I said to myself, you know what? Gambian or in UK, we don't get involved in too many crimes. And that's my local community. So Nembe client or Sotlana client or Jurumo Bolana in my local community, and that is the Gambian community. So I said to myself, Gambian community, what is the biggest problem we have in UK in terms of the legal issues? And I said, immigration is number one. So I'm going to do immigration. So I did immigration as an option, unemployment as another option, and welfare as another option.
That's a very like interesting kaje come you're thinking about your people because nkombenye ni kawala nka gamen jamale moy me an ko be UK le ka foko ye gamen jamale ma ko kaytu kola so yeah, so I guess it's a good thing that you were definitely thinking about your people because a lot of us might not think like that. We're like, yeah, we're going where the money is at, you know. So how was that for you? That process when you're doing that?
No, that one, I just thought about the community that I live in, and that is the Gambian community. I remember even my tutor was like, no, don't go for immigration. Go for, we had this what a white guy there. I tell her experience in immigration was so bad. I went to go, immigration, the whole bunch of liars. Don't go for immigration, guy. No. I have to go for immigration. Once it I immigration, because Mingera, ngam involved. I remember I had to tell my tutor, guy go yalo ngana community lone, guy ko. Near problem also they not there, and their problem is immigration. Iko no tema ko no la de yalo ndabuga immigration. Nga nenda je ko mu lawyer de ba fala nyen nyimma ke lawyer do mi yalo nga immigration fa buga fen no je. Guy guy because that is the main problem Molia Menzoro. So if you cannot sort that out for them, if I fala karo manke lawyer, yajel. Guy, so I know my community, if I fala manke lawyer because I cannot assist their legal issues. You see what I mean? I cannot assist them. with their legal issues. So
I was gonna ask, what is it about the Gambian community that you like so much? Because Dolby J, maybe Nimba Europe, we don't want to be around the Gambians because it'll cause Seattle, you know? So what is it about the Gambian community that you like so much that you go towards it rather than running away from it?
it's just that I happen to be a Gambian. So I know some people would say, I don't want to have anything to do with Gambian, but for me, I was Gambian and I was drawn more to Gambian. So if there are Gambian issues, I want to be part of it, you know? So, and then I was like, you know what? And you know, even throughout this period, you know that I was politically very much engaged about Gambia.
Yeah.
You know, I was part of the fundraising. Every election would try so much to send something to help UDP on the ground. And then whenever I have the opportunity with Gambians, I try to tell them about what is happening in the Gambia and why the government at the time was bad for Gambia. And we have to fight our government in falling. So I remember nim modul ka songale nga kuya. Dol bi jen nungol kuya ram baka diam van because it will kajale ko, it will come in wala nyindu ko nying ate nyin dabo kundanga nicely. But it wasn't like that. Because I remember I used to have some friends, they will be my witness here, you know. Ni nga fenge kama ngo. I told you dabo kundanga nicely so nicely. Jamme is working. Don't go let's wait. So jamme al si ali ajibe mbekala. So mbije dalaso start to depreciate. I remember that time being either the pound was around 26 to dollars. Remember, Ndebetala UK time moment there, Dallas was almost like a $5 to a pound. So £1 was equivalent to $5.
Wow.
That was year 2000. But 2001, 2002, 2003, the Dallas collapsed completely. And then I remember when I came, I was telling them that, you know, this government is not good. And they're not serving the best interest of the Gambia. And then the country is going to deteriorate. We're going to retrogress under them. But they were not understanding. You know what I mean? Some people, or sometimes you know what? Nimbe midleg man laughing a political diam. I'm going no problem. You know what I mean? Because I was just too political for them.
Yeah,
Too political, you know. So, but my interest about Gambia never went away. So that's why even when I was I was studying, my mind is always about Gambia. You know what I mean? Especially the Gambian community in the UK. And then number two, I also knew even at that time, the Gambian community was going to expand more in the UK because the country condition was going to force people out. Whether they like it or not, they're going to go out. Because dictatorship is very difficult to stay under, to live under. So and then throughout my time, I've seen all kind of cases. I've dealt with all sort of cases from the Gambia. But so the Gambian community was very, very dear to my heart and very close to my heart. So I cannot just become so helpless to my own people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It would be very difficult, especially Ninko, I studied law and I'm a lawyer. I said, you know what? I'm going to go back and then, so that all of that helped me because I remember this tutor sort of for my advocacy, you know, advocacy 1, advocacy 2. He kept insisting that you are very good for advocacy. Go for criminal, go to crime, do crime. You will do very well and you will have a lot of clients in crime. And I said, no. But in the end, I was like, Gambians, we don't commit crime. That is something we don't do. You know, we don't get involved in fraud and other things. We like to work, and then the little we have our own bickering, but you know, we are a very united people. That's the way I see my people in the Gambian people. You know what I mean? We can have our differences and everything, but we are very hospitable.
But by the time Sorry. By the time you were a lawyer, did you already drop this Yajima diss track or what? Because I want to get into that a little bit.
No,
I heard.
yajama distract no produce in 2006, around 2004-5. Then I
Okay.
didn't qualify as a lawyer then.